Glad to have you back. Economic fluctuations are significant contributors to unemployment, which acts as a barometer for the health of a job market. During periods of economic downturn or recession, businesses face declining profits, reduced consumer spending, and often diminishing markets. This can lead to cost-cutting measures, including layoffs or hiring freezes, as companies strive to maintain financial stability. Conversely, in times of economic growth or expansion, and increasing demand for goods and services often leads to job creations, as businesses need more hands to meet consumer demand. Mr. Sylvester Sede is the founder and CEO of Silver Frame Media. He will be discussing with me on issues on how to address unemployment using sustainable agriculture. He joins me from Bielsa. Thank you so much. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here with you.
First, let me ask you, with the level of unemployment in Nigeria, how would you react to it generally first before we now go to looking at how we can use or deploy economic diversification to address it?
Okay, first, I'm one of the persons who think that there are jobs everywhere, because I feel like a lot of young people or a lot of Nigerians are waiting for ready-made jobs to just fit in and start working. But we need to understand that with the current economic situation, it's in our place to create jobs. As individuals, there are lots of things you could do creatively and make money for yourself. And if that is not the case, I still think that there are opportunities for people to get into companies, get into organizations. There are windows that we do not take advantage of. For example, a company needs an accountant, for instance, and there's no opening for you. You could walk in and say you want to work for free. You want to intern for the meantime. I see companies opening up internship, and young people are not taking advantage of those internship, forgetting that the internship that you take at no cost, it's a window to getting the job at the long run. So I think there are jobs everywhere. Nigerians need to think creatively, which is what a group of us are doing. Think creatively on how to key into different sectors without having the formal job, in quotes.
Now, talking about looking into the new role of community in helping diversify local economies through sustainable agriculture. Let's start with agriculture. How do we get to that point where we get to the level of agricultural productivity that can accommodate the number of youths that are even interested in getting into that sector?
Okay, so we need to be deliberate about this sector, because the agricultural sector is not one sector where a lot of young people in Nigeria want to venture into, because they think it's not the regular job, or it's not the kind of job that they want. Forgetting that agriculture is the key, is the mainstay. Agriculture is what sustains everybody. So I think we need to begin to package agriculture in a way where it's attractive to young people, and young people need to think about agriculture differently. They need to understand that agriculture is not just a job, is not just a hobby. It's actually what drives the economy. I mean, it's Christmas, and we see lots of people buying rice, for example, this period. And I was discussing with someone the other day, and it told me of how two young people somewhere in Ebonyi State started a rice farm, and out of nowhere, they got someone to take off their the bags of rice for about 500 million naira. So the opportunities are there. Young people need to start to discover and understand that in certain communities and in certain regions, there are certain kinds of agricultural products or produce that they can grow that would actually be lucrative at the long run. They also need to begin to understand the entire food chain, the entire value chain that agriculture has. It's not just going to the farm to farm. It's also packaging products that a lot of people are not doing. In the Niger Delta, for instance, we still do not have a company that processes and package fish, for example. And fish is one thing that is common and everywhere in the Niger Delta. So young people need to think about this process differently. There are certain agricultural companies in Bielsa at the moment that are looking at this differently. They have begun to engage young people from the university, from communities, They put them together in the farm and train them on how to go through the process of farming and how to process crops that they've grown from the farm and how to take those crops to the market to get them off. And it's also part of what we have put around what we call the Bielsa Food and Art Festival. For example, the Bielsa Food and Art Festival is happening right now as I speak with you, and it's an opportunity for young farmers who have gone to the farm over the months to bring their products to the festival and showcase it, where they can meet new customers, where they can meet investors, and where they can also learn how to process their products from farm to different parts of the world.
You just mentioned the Niger Delta where you are. We know the challenges with regards to land, with regards to oil and all of that affecting agriculture in your space. So how do we balance all of this? And let's also touch on the role cultural heritage plays in also diversifying our economy. So it's a two-in-one question.
Okay, I like saying that we need to be deliberate. We need to understand how to use our cultural heritage and creativity to drive causes, as the case may be. What most of us have begun to do is to go to these communities, curate the culture that they have, curate what we can see, the potentials that they have culturally, and use creativity to blow them out. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I get you. Go ahead.
Okay, use creativity to blow them out. So what we have begun to do is to identify certain communities around the Niger Delta and their culture, the kinds of culture that they have, and how these cultures can be exported using creativity, from film production to festivals to music production. That's an area that we have begun to curate and ensure that young people are engaged in this sector and using that as a platform, as a springboard to go into the market. And it's also part of what we have at the current festival. So when we started the Bielsa Food and Art Festival sometime 7 years ago, it was the only festival that had to do with art and food in the Niger Delta. But the template we set has created different kinds of food festival happening simultaneously, not just in the Niger Delta, but in Bielsa, in River State, in Delta State. And these are creating certain opportunities. The festivals are not just economic activities where young people come to showcase their products. They are also tied around promoting the cultural heritage of these communities and of these people. And for me, it feels like it's a gold mine that a lot of young people need to take advantage of and explore.
Now, moving forward, agriculture again, many will talk about funding for mechanized agriculture. And that is something that is key. You talked about youth being interested in agriculture. And I have someone that will say you need to make agriculture very attractive for youth to come in, not the cutlass and whole thing. Agriculture is mechanized. Tech is now involved in agriculture. How well do you see Nigeria going that route to make sure that the youth key in, if not 100%, 70 to 80%?
I think Nigeria needs to understudy other countries and how they've been able to achieve this. We need to understand the technology that they have employed. And also, I wouldn't say that Nigeria doesn't have its technology. I just feel like the will and the manpower, the technical know-how on how to implement such technology is what's missing. We have access to it, but the people at the helm of affairs who control the agricultural sector, they need to be on their feet. They need to be on their feet. They need to give Nigerian youth the opportunity, and not just giving it the opportunity, giving them the opportunity by providing the right tools that they need to go into farming. In most parts of the world, the way we farm in Nigeria is no longer how they farm over there. So those mechanized tools, you mentioned tech, you mentioned AI, how we need to begin to apply artificial intelligence technology in our farming procedures and processes. When this is done properly, young people will definitely flood into it. You talked about funding. There are certain young farmers who have accessed funds, not from Nigeria, internationally, and that's because they built their capacity. They tapped into resources that are not available readily available for the ordinary man. And I feel like if we begin to tap into such resources, if we begin to put our house in order, if we begin to deliberately let our youth know that farming is not too much of hard work. It's hard work, but it can be mechanized. It can be easier. How we begin to infuse AI, how we begin to infuse technology and make farming easy, lucrative, and attractive for our young people. It has to be, again, it has to be a deliberate effort. We have to be deliberate about it. We have to be intentional about it. We have to draw a roadmap on where we want to go from today, from 2024, in the next 5 years, in the next 6 years. How do we want our young people to perceive agriculture? We need to begin to draw that roadmap. How we begin to infuse AI, how we begin to infuse technology and make agriculture seemingly easy, interesting, attractive, and lucrative.
Mr. Sede, what is your outlook despite all of these challenges? Do you see light at the end of the tunnel, like everyone would ask?
I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Nigeria. I'm a believer in Nigeria. I believe in community. I believe in where I come from. I believe in my place.
Great.
I believe that we can get it right at the long run. Yes, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but we need to sit on our feet. We need to be intentional. We need to work together. I feel like we're a bit too separated. We're a bit too disintegrated. We need to come together and agree on what we want. I mean, it feels easy. If we agree on what we want as a country, if we agree that this is what we want to achieve in 10 years and everybody gets on the table, puts their hands on deck, we would achieve it.
I must thank you so much, Mr. Sylvester Sede. It's the first time on the show. We'll definitely have you again to talk more around issues surrounding agriculture and, of course, the entire economy. Thank you so much, founder, CEO, Silver Flame Media. You joined us live from Bayelsa State. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Ogunjobi.
All right, then. Well, we would